Good morning, everyone. We'll get started in just 1 minute. Thank you, everyone, for being so prompt. Right, we are right at 12 o'clock and have 130 people already. We're about to kick this webinar off. Hand it over to Francine.
Welcome, everyone, to today's MDOT in Motion Back to School webinar, hosted by the Maryland Department of Transportation. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Francine Waters, and I serve as the Multimodal Transportation Project Specialist at the Maryland Department of Transportation. I'd like to go over a few housekeeping reminders. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted along with past webinars for viewing on our MDOT in Motion website at Maryland's Bicycle and Pedestrian Plans and Programs, MDOT. The recording session will be made available within about 2 weeks on the Office of Active Transportation and Micromobility newsletter and event archive website. Please note that if you do not wish to be recorded, please leave the meeting before recording begins.
Great. Thank you for that housekeeping, Francine, and welcome everybody. My name is Meg Young. I'm the Deputy Director of Active Transportation and Micromobility at the Maryland Department of Transportation. We're really excited that y'all have joined us for this MDOT in Motion series. This is a series of webinars and some interactive activities coming up that we were putting on to help explain and communicate to people what is going on with complete streets and multimodal projects in Maryland. Sometimes our policies and programs can be complex and bureaucratic, but you will see the real impact in your community when you're biking, walking, rolling, and driving to get where you need to go. So for today, we want to focus on back to school safety. In Maryland, we have a population of 6.2 million people and are working to be a leader in clean energy and one of the greenest DOTs in the nation. We are working to advance infrastructure and better connect all Marylanders to opportunities and each other. And one very important part of our state plan is ending child poverty in the state of Maryland and help children through Governor Moore's Enough Act to lead an effort to end concentrated child poverty and build safe and economically thriving communities for future generations. So when we're talking about back to school in Maryland, we have 1,370 public schools across our state. And safety and getting to and from school is important for every single one of them. So today we'll go over first about MDOT and why we are serious about safety and safe routes to schools. Then we'll hear from Montgomery County and the countywide engagement that they're doing to make school transportation safer. We'll hear from an actual student, a real rock star and youth ambassador about traveling to and from school. And then we have some exciting news about what's in store for safe routes to schools in Maryland. We'll end today's webinar with a Q&A. So you'll find a question and answer box towards the top of your team screen. You can put your questions in there so we can answer them at the end of the webinar. So why is the Maryland Department serious about safety? Because quite frankly, even one life lost on our roadways is too many. This spring, we announced the Serious About Safety program and how safety is really our guiding principle that we are coming back to through all of our initiatives and programs. It is something that we will be advocating for in legislation, working with our lawmakers and elected officials. And it's also something that we want to engage the public about, to hear your safety concerns. So when we're serious about safety and thinking about vulnerable people on our roadways, children traveling to and from school are some of the most vulnerable people. They're not old enough to drive. their reliance on walking and biking and or traveling with their parents or guardian to get to school. So Safe Routes to School is particularly targeting the journeys for children, but as the motto at AARP says, somebody pushing a stroller and a young child have the same needs as somebody in a wheelchair. So when we plan for young people and old people alike, we're making sure our communities are safe for everyone. It's really a full-on effort, and we have a cute little clip here with children actually speaking to their parents about work zone safety. And we want to make sure you know this goes both ways. Not only can children look out for us, but through Safe Routes to Schools, we can look out for their safety. So I'll play this video from the State Highway Administration about work zone safety.
Behind every project, we are all connected.
My dad works here. My mom works here.
Go about with here.
Work zone safety
is everyone's responsibility.
Stay alert, read the signs,
avoid distractions,
slow down, and move over if possible.
To give workers an extra buffer lane.
Respect the zone so we all get home.
It's too cute not to share. But respecting the zone so we all get home applies to school zones as well.
Behind every
So what is Safe Routes to School? This is the focus of our webinar today, is the different ways that Safe Routes to Schools can take shape. It is a national program that focuses on getting kids to and from school. It uses tactics, including engineering, education, encouragement, enforcement, equity, and evaluation. Ideally, all of these tactics work together, educating people how to use the crosswalk, encouraging more walking and biking, doing things like enforcing speed limits in school zones. In Maryland, Safe Routes to Schools can improve safety for children traveling to school. It can increase the number of students who are walking and biking to school to reduce congestion, and it can facilitate planning for infrastructure improvements and engineering improvements around schools. In Maryland, the Safe Routes to Schools program is administered by the State Highway Administration, and we have a number of goals for the coming years to increase awareness and participation in Safe Routes to Schools, to generate a pipeline of safety projects in school zones, and to establish self-sustaining Safe Routes to Schools program at local levels. And it's this last one that's going to be a big focus of today's webinar, because for Safe Routes to Schools to be successful, we need everyone to do their part. Again, we'll hear from a student today, but we also have to think about what parents can do, what a PTA can do, school staff, and even if you're just a driver on the roadway, knowing what to do in a school zone. So with that, I will hand it over to Francine to introduce our guest speakers.
Yes, and before I do the introductions, I just wanted to share with those on the online that AICP registered, certified viewers of this live event are eligible to receive 1 CM credit from the American Planning Association. To receive that credit, visit APA's website, planning.org, log into your account, and search for the name of today's events or the event number, which is 9314633. It's also important to note that the views expressed by the speakers are those of the speaker and not necessarily those of the Maryland Department of Transportation nor the state of Maryland. And as Meg mentioned, any questions, please turn it over to put those questions in the toolbox. And Meg, I know that we're introducing our speakers, but a little background on Meg Young. She is the Deputy Director for Active Transportation and Micromobility. Meg is an urban planner with 10 years of experience working to make it safer for people to walk, bike, ride transit, and share the road. Prior to MDOT, she worked at the Federal Transit Administration and Baltimore City Department of Transportation. She is a certified bicycle instructor through the American League of Cyclists and enjoys teaching of all ages. Now, Duwan Morris. Duwan has dedicated his life to protecting and empowering communities through pedestrian and bicycle safety education. A passionate and experienced leader in safe routes to school, outreach, and public engagement, Duwan has worked tirelessly to ensure students and families are safer, healthier ways to walk and bike in their neighborhoods. With a career spanning multiple jurisdictions, including Baltimore City and now Montgomery County, Duwan has led transformative programs that make safety education not only effective, but engaging and fun. His innovative approach has brought life to initiatives like Walking Wednesdays or bike rodeos, pedestrian safety art contests, and Montgomery County's first ever Safety Day. These programs aren't just events. They're movements that inspire students, teachers, and entire communities to embrace safe, active transportation. Our last presenter is a WABA Youth Ambassador. Ola Olua Adeleke Wales, or otherwise Rocky, was a youth ambassador for the Washington Area Bicyclist Association and helped host safety events at her high school until her graduation in 2025. Congratulations, Roxy. She is an incoming freshman at Howard University with a planned sociology major. She was also a 2025 intern for Maryland delegate Adrian Baffo and a 2024 ALA Maryland Girls State Senator. So we'll start by saying welcome, Duwan.
Thank you so much, Francine, for that wonderful introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so excited to share some information on my favorite subject, safe routes to school. I feel like it's all I know, and I never get bored talking about it. So I appreciate everyone coming to hear this presentation this afternoon. Again, I'm Duwan Morris, and I'm from the Montgomery County Department of Transportation, and I manage the Safe Routes to School program through education and outreach. As you can see on the screen, you'll see my best friend, my BFF. His name is Zeal on the cover here, and you'll see him throughout the presentation this afternoon. Zeal is the branding for our program. He's a really big hit, and he is how Safe Routes to School is recognized throughout Montgomery County. And it's really important when you're trying to do a brand of any kind. You need a face to the brand, and I don't think my face is cute enough, so we had to have Zeal here to be the face of the brand. And Zeal is really interactive, and he gets really excited. Kids get really excited when they see him on materials or when he shows up as a guest person at an event. So next slide, please. So why Safe Routes to School matters? Safe Routes to School matters because we all know it promotes some physical activity for students. It reduces risk of traffic-related injuries. It reduces congestion and pollution. And also, what's most important is strengthen neighborhood connections. And with Safe Routes to School, the goal is to reach as many students and communities as we can. In Montgomery County, we have a target list of priority schools each year that we focus on, that we put our efforts, that we put our funding, and we put our energy to, so those schools can really understand what Safe Routes to School is, be a partner with Safe Routes to School, and echo our message throughout their community. And we do target underserved students, Title I schools. In Montgomery County, they call them community schools. And we definitely identify safety improvements surround these schools. And this past year, we definitely had some high-level stats when it comes to our priority schools. We attended 189 unique events with 753 hours in the field. That's not in the office, not behind a computer on Zoom or Teams, but 753 hours in the field teaching kids how to walk and bike. Also, we visited 90 unique schools, 90 different schools. We went out and also make sure we push our message to 90 different schools out of a total of 140. Also, we visited 88 schools and 89 events, and these were in the equity focus areas. So as you can see, Safe Routes to School, it has to go beyond the classroom, it has to go beyond the four walls, and it has to go beyond your computer or your cubicle. We must get out and we must really push students to understand why safety matters, and push students and parents and all communities to really echo our message. Next slide, please. So we all have a role to play, as Meg says, as Meg mentioned, in Safe Routes to School. No one can do it alone. We all have a piece to this puzzle that we're trying to fit and make our roads safer. So whether you're a parent, whether you're a student, you're a neighbor, you're an educator, a local law enforcement, or a local leader, we all can make a difference. All that we have to do is make sure we do our part. We can lead safer streets, and we can have healthier communities, and we can have stronger communities if we all do our part and know our role in this effort. And it doesn't have to be a large role. A small action, a small gesture can really make an impact when we do it together. And we have to build stronger and safer and healthy communities, and we need to put in the work together. As you see on this screen, we were in a community where we did a walkability study, where we went to the community and said, how do your child get to school? Is there any concerns from your child? Do you walk with your child to school? Is there any concerns you have as a parent? We talked to the school from a school perspective. Are you hearing any concerns? What can we do as the Montgomery County Department of Transportation to make it more safer for students to walk and bike to school? So we did this in 15 different schools. We have a website, as you see on the bottom of that screen, that they can go to our website and give us feedback on what we can do to make schools and walking and biking more appealing and more safe for students. So this photo exactly is from Wingate Elementary School, where we did those safety improvements, and we did a new roundabout and put some crosswalks in. After the feedback, we had to always stop and more sidewalks and center medians for those students to get to school. So from an engineering perspective, it has to do with all of us. We have to get feedback. We have to know what the people want and what makes it more safe for them when it comes to children walking and biking to school. Next slide, please. So Safe Routes to School, there's a role that you have to play as a parent. And when I say parent, you might be a caregiver, you might be an older sister, you might be an older brother with really small children. If you're caregiving and if you're responsible for a child, you are considered a parent in this case. We want you to walk and bike to school and model safe behaviors with children. You want to also organize or join walking school buses or bike trains. There's walking school buses that have been featured in Montgomery County. Although also when I was in Baltimore, we did walking school buses. And it's a great way for parents that do not have a way for a child to get to school and they need to take care of another sick child at home. Their child can still get to school safely because of a walking school bus that has been formed in neighborhoods. You also want to advocate for safer neighborhoods, advocate for safer traffic calming around your school. Know who to talk to, know who to call, know who to email, know 311 that can get it done. If you see a need, see something, you have to say something as a parent. And also you want to communicate with schools and local officials about traffic safety. We want to hear your voice. A lot of times we don't hear your voice, but because people don't know how to get in contact with us. Do some research. Contact the Department of Transportation and see what it is that we can do to make it more sustainable and safe for your children. And as a parent, it's really, really important that you model that safe behavior as a parent or as a caregiver or as an older adult, because our students, they are watching, they are listening, and they are going to do what you already doing. There's a quote that says, give a man a fish, he'll eat for today. Teach a man a fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. And you put that same thing with safety. If you just tell them about safety, they might not do it. But if you teach them about safety, they'll take those behaviors and grow up with them, and they can live long and healthy lives. Okay. So I want to highlight a couple examples where parents have spent more engagement in communities. As you can see on that top picture on the right-hand side, we were at a parent coffee. We're at Georgia and Forest Elementary School, where communities came together. There were 60 plus parents came there to learn about what the Department of Transportation can do to make it more safer, to get resources from active organizations and nonprofits that can make safety really a priority in their school, and they were concerned about the safety. So as a parent, not only you can make it to show up to change behaviors and model behaviors, you have to show up and get the information so that you can make a difference in your community. And safe routes in this particular school at Georgia and Forest, most of their students caught buses to school. So you're trying to figure out how does this work, where they're catching buses to school, but we're trying to promote walking and biking, but it still goes beyond the school. They might walk to the park, they might walk to the store, they might walk to a friend's house, a Boy Scout or Girl Scout meeting, but they know the behaviors and they're going to model those behaviors no matter where they go. And on the bottom left, you'll see Forest Knolls Elementary School, a bike bus where over 100 riders bike to school every single Friday. And this is led by parents that enjoy biking, that have the time. They wake up on a Friday morning. They have 3 different routes. They're color-coded, where they ride throughout the neighborhood, pick up students on their bike, and make sure they have safe routes while riding their bike to school. So as a parent, you have a role, you have a responsibility. You might not have the time, but you have a voice. So make sure you use your voice to make sure we echo safety around our communities, and we're doing everything that we can to spread the message about safety so no child can be left on our roadways not knowing about safety. Next slide, please. So there's a role that students have to play. So parents have that role that I just spoke about, but students have a role too. Students have to know how to follow all rules of the road. Whenever I go out to do a bike rodeo, I speak to a classroom, or I do a small presentation, I try to help them understand what are the rules of the road. And they may not know every single rule of the road at 6 or 7 years old, but they should know how to look left and right. They should know how to wear a helmet before they're getting on a bike, or just the basic rules of the road so they can know how to think before they step. And also, you want to encourage, as a young person, you want to encourage your friends to walk and bike safely. I always say it's cool to have a safe route to school. So we want to really make sure these young people know what you learn here have to leave here. There's no presentation that I talk to young people about that I say just keep that information to yourself. Tell your friends, tell your cousins, tell your brothers and sisters what you've learned, and encourage and challenge them to be safe. And also, as a young person, you want to encourage students to participate in these safety events and these awareness campaigns. This is how they're going to learn. This is how they're going to be excited. This is how they're going to show up to make sure they can model behaviors so also other young people can follow them. So you want to make learning fun and engaging for students. One thing about Montgomery County's program, what makes us a staple, not only in this region, but in this nation, is that we take an innovative approach. We're constantly reassessing and reevaluating our program to see what it is that makes students happy and incorporate our message into what they're already interested in. So as you'll see on the right-hand top corner, we have our pedestrian safety art contest. Our pedestrian safety art contest is a contest where young people can draw pedestrian safety art and submit it to us for a chance to win prizes such as gift cards to Amazon and Barnes and Noble. We have two different categories, a K through third and fourth through fifth category. And every year we receive over 400 submissions from young people around the county drawing pedestrian safety art to really encourage not only themselves but other people around the county to be safe. And how do we do that? How do we get this amount of participation? We work with Title I schools. We reach out to principals and vice principals individually. We distribute flyers, we do email blasts, but also we have shown up in their communities before. So they know us, they're familiar with our brand, and they want to partner with us. That's how we receive so much feedback and participation in these programs. So if you want to make things fun for students, and what we did here in this particular instance, we announced the winners at our safety day. We had a safety day where we had over 3,000 children and families come to an event that was partnered with Montgomery County Public Schools, where we had all kind of free safety activities. We gave raffle-free helmets. We gave pedestrian safety art contests prizes out. We have bike rodeos, as you can see on the bottom left screen. It was a really wonderful way to bring the entire family out to learn about safety in a fun and safe environment. Next slide, please. So there's a role that community groups have to be responsible for when it comes to safe routes to school. As a community group, we want you to volunteer and organize or supervise walking and biking groups. It might not be as big as Forest Knolls, where we have 100 kids riding bikes, but it might be just you and 5 other children walking to school and you teaching them. One child learning is one child saved. So you need to organize and supervise or host or partner with walking and biking groups. You want to sponsor safety gear. I know budget is always and funding is always a caveat here, but if you can sponsor some safety gear, whether it's giving out reflective lights to young people, a helmet, or some kind of reflective gear, you want to make sure they know how to use these tools to make them more seen. You want to advocate for infrastructure improvements. Sometimes a parent don't know what to do. They need an organization behind them so they can be heard and they can feel seen and they can have the strength to advocate for safer roads in their community. You want to partner with schools for safety events. This is really, really important. Schools are already having events. Find out ways where you can bring safety as a tool or mechanism and as a topic in that school event. No matter if it's a family fun and fitness night. When I think about family fun and fitness, it's always, oh, we're doing basketball, we're teaching you swimming, you're teaching you this, but are you teaching them how to walk and bike safely? Because it's good for them to go to school, but it's more important for them to get their safety. So you can always just help spread the message through media and community events. So whatever you do as a community group, you got to make sure you show up and do everything that you can to make your voices heard, whether you're partnering with another organization, whether you're pitching media or maybe the use of social media. Social media is a tool that can be really, really powerful when trying to get a message across. And right now we have so many things, Instagram and TikTok and Reels, that you can do to really just bring a message to these young people. And it does not have to be a full-on presentation that I'm doing right here. It can be just one simple message. There was a mentor told me something about 7 years ago. He said, if you tell them everything, they'll remember nothing. But if you tell them something, they'll remember something. So I challenge you as a community group, say something about safety and put it out there, whether it's on social media, whether it's through your community organization meetings, or whether it's showing up and saying something. Say something about safety because it's really important. And the more eyes and the more ears and the more sound we get for safety, the better our roads and the more lives we can definitely save. Next slide, please. The role of schools. The role of schools is just as important. It's just as important. You want to make sure we're incorporating safety into our lesson plans. And it might not be an official lesson plan that you can incorporate safety in there, but whenever you get a chance to let young people know a little bit about the rules of the road, we need schools to do that. You want to promote safety events like walking and biking in school day. So the integrating safety lessons into the PE classrooms, DC has a PE curriculum where every single second grader learns how to ride a bike through the safety curriculum. I think it's the only unique one in the nation, I believe, that every second grader learns how to ride a bike. And I've done so many bike rodeos, I can't even name the number, but have seen thousands and thousands of kids. I can't tell you how many students do not know how to ride a bike at 10, 11, and 12. Just last week, I did a bike rodeo at an elementary school. There was a 5th grade young lady. She said, "Oh, I'm just terrified to ride a bike. I'm scared I might fall again." We gotta help get these students comfortable and have the confidence to ride a bike as a form of transportation and knowing how to do it safely. Also, you want to promote events like walking and biking school day. Every year we have a big celebration of walk and bike to school. So walk to school day is where we have a big celebration at one school where we bring county local leaders, we can bring police, we bring fire, we bring giveaways, and we really make it a party for the students to really get excited about walking to school that day. And this celebration became so popular in Montgomery County. I had an influx of schools asking, "Can we be the host school? Can we celebrate next year? Can you bring the resources here?" So we had to roll out something bigger called Walking Wednesday, where every single Wednesday, not just the first Wednesday in October for Walk to School Day. 2 years ago, we started every single Wednesday going to different schools to celebrate young people and encourage them to walk to school. We reached over nearly 20,000 students last year through our Walking Wednesday program, where Zeal dresses up every single Wednesday. He meets the students as they arrive, they dance, they get reflectors, and they echo our safety message. So that's really, really something that Montgomery County has been known for our Walking Wednesday program. And also, as a school, you want to make sure you create dismissal procedures, arrival and dismissal procedures that really enhance our message of safety. I know arrival and dismissal can be really, really hectic. Every single week I'm seeing cars lined up, young people running in and out of cars. We want to make sure schools know to really enforce the safety message for them at arrival and dismissal, especially for our walkers and our bikers. So you want to make sure as a school, you want to encourage families to get involved. Encourage families to get involved when you're advocating for safety around your school, when you're advocating for infrastructure, when you're hosting safety events. Encourage your families to get involved. Push them to make sure that they have your back so our students can be safe on our roadways. Next slide, please. So action steps for your community. I want you to start a safe route to school committee in your school. It doesn't have to be big. It might just be start with 2 parents and a student. It might just start with a teacher, a PE teacher, and 1 parent. You want to start something that starts the conversation. Like I said before, if you tell them everything, they'll know nothing. But if you tell them something, they'll remember something. You want to start a committee that can say something to your local leaders, to your Department of Transportation, so they can know that there's a need and you guys are interested in partnering to supply and rectify the need. You want to conduct walkability studies. You might not be an engineer on this call. You might just be a planner or just might be a parent. You know how to walk, you know how to look and see where there's a need. Like Meg said, if there's a lady in a stroller pushing her son or daughter and there's no ADA ramps, you know there's a need. So we need to make sure we know who to contact to make sure those needs is being met so our safety can be a priority. You got to know who to contact, collaborate with your local officials, partner with local police. As you see on the bottom of the screen, our Walk to School Day, we had police and fire. We had over 500 students walking to school last Walk to School Day. And we had police escorting us and fire right next to us, all walking to school together, bringing a statement saying that we all have a role to play and we all are in this thing together. As you'll see at that top right-hand corner, you want to make sure you collaborate with your state officials. You'll see Cheswick the Crab and Zeal the Safety Zebra with our MVA administrator for our Read Across America event. This is the 3rd year that we've partnered with the MVA to do Read Across America in 2 schools in Montgomery County, where our administrator read to the students about safety. Okay, and we use our branding, our Cheswick the Crab branding and our Zeal branding. Branding definitely matters and it makes a difference. So making sure you use brands that are known, if you can, to partner and echo your message. And as Meg said before, there's funding out there. So if you do not have funding, there's grants, there's nonprofits, there's partnerships that you can do to try to get funding. All you got to do is do a little research and talk to the right people, and you'll find out where to get the funding. And it takes a village to make this thing happen. So we have to take action to make sure our students and our is a priority when it comes to safety. Next slide. And what I like to say when it comes to collecting and sharing success stories, I can probably sit here for the next hour and tell you success stories I had with young people throughout Montgomery County, going into different schools, doing bike rodeos, doing pedestrian safety events, attending school events. And it's so much that we do, and we need to be recognized for it. So you want to highlight things that you've done. If you're doing a Safe Routes to School program, highlight the success stories that you have. Which I like to say, what we learn here leaves here. And you got to keep the conversation going. You just never know who might hear your message. You want to share those stats and improve attendance for your community. As you can see right here on the right-hand side, this is our annual outreach report. Every single year we do an annual outreach report. And last year we reported 259 different events that we've hosted or even attended. So when a school calls on us, we've shown up, and the numbers do not lie. We had 259 events, and 60% of them was in equity emphasis areas. Also, we we gave out 800 free helmets to young people around Montgomery County with almost 50,000 people coming to our website to learn more about what we're doing. So this work is definitely being shared. So we produced this testimonial and this outreach report every single year. But the most amazing thing, one of the most amazing testimonials that we've had last year was from our delegate from the 17th district that came to our safety day event where 3,000 young people was able to learn about safety through interactive activities. Julie Carr, she said it was a really good event. My son, who was in the 3rd grade, especially learned a lot from the area where the kids could ride a bike or scooter on a practice road. The next day, he read the road signs as we were driving. So like I said, you just never know what child you're going to impact. You never know when you bring that conversation to a young person, they're going to keep repeating it. They're going to tell their parents. They're going to tell their siblings. They're going to tell their friends. So we have to make sure that we are sharing and that we are making a difference. You want to make sure you collect that feedback. So if you do want to see more about what we've done in our last year and more testimonials from our pedestrian safety annual report, you can scan that QR code right there, and that can bring you to our annual report. Next slide, please. So let's get moving together. Every steps count, literally and figuratively. Your role in Safeguard Routes to School, it matters, okay? And you just never know who needs to hear this message. There's a quote by Helen Keller that says, alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. So your role matters in making Safe Routes to School possible. So I spoke that what we can do individual, but it takes all of us to make this change. As Meg said earlier, one life lost is just one too many. Every parent deserves for their student to make it home safely, for their child to make it, for their son, their daughter, their little brother to make it home safely. This is why I'm so passionate about Safe Routes to School. I've worked many Saturdays, I've worked many Sundays and many weekends, and I've dedicated my life to this work because I know what it takes, and I know if we get on the ground, if we encourage each other, and if we all work together, we can end road fatalities and we can end serious injuries, especially with our young people walking and biking to school. So it's really, really important that no matter if you are a caregiver, a parent, a community activist, a principal, a school teacher, a fire EMS, a police officer, an engineer, or even if you're a planner like me, we all have a role to play. And I challenge you when you leave this webinar, when you click in and you go about your day, tell somebody about Safe Routes to School, tell somebody about safety, because when we all start the conversation and we all making the conversation, they can't deny that they can hear us. Next slide. So I want to thank everyone for listening. If you want to learn more about Montgomery County Safe Routes to School, you can visit our website. The QR code is on this screen. Also, we have a photo album with over 20,000 pictures of different events that we've been to, different activities that we participated in. Please scan that Flickr album on the top, and you'll see all the great things that we've done. And if you want to keep up with us, that's the best way to do it. So I want to thank you so much for your time this afternoon. It was a pleasure. And like I said, what we learn here has to leave here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Duwan. As you all can clearly tell, Duwan is passionate about his work, and we need more Duwans around the state to help kids get to and from school safely. But we'll transition now to hear from an actual student. We'll hear from Roxy, who is a Washington Area Bicycle Association Youth Ambassador, or was a Youth Ambassador. She's now graduated from the program. So this program is a paid internship program for Prince George's County Public School high school students to be ambassadors for safe biking, walking, and safe roadway behavior. It's made possible through a partnership with MDOT and the Motor Vehicle Administration's Highway Safety Office. What I've seen from this program is highly motivated young people. They organize events, they've organized walk audits at their schools, and they have organized transportation safety summits with public officials. This past year, they got a standing ovation at the Bike Maryland Summit in Annapolis, where they presented to state legislators. On the screen here was one of their recent walks organized by the student pictured at his own high school. So you can follow them on Instagram at WABA Youth Leadership. But I will hand it over to Roxy, who was one of their ambassadors in their second cohort. Roxy, you have the floor.
Hello, everyone. Hi. My name is Olalua or Roxy Adelaide K. Wales. I'm a recent graduate from Bowie High School, and I was a part of the first cohort of the Washington Area Bicyclists Association from 2023 to 2024. I remember getting the opportunity. I was very excited, and that excitement definitely carried through. So before I go on with my presentation, I'm just going to talk a bit about an opportunity that I got from being a youth ambassador, and that was serving on County Council member Juanica Fisher's pedestrian safety work group. Within this work group, we basically just, talked about different resolutions that we could have the council pass in order to ensure safer routes to school for youth. Next slide. Okay, so here's how to stay safe to and from school. This is particularly targeted at students. So during my time as a WABA intern, we identified three main, okay, sorry, the animation was like taking forever. We identified three main factors when it came to staying safe in transit to school. So that would be staying focused, having a buddy, and following traffic rules. So first off, staying focused. I more than anyone definitely, loves a good walk, blasting music, doom scrolling on TikTok, but to be very honest, it is not the safest way to do things. So when you're walking to school, just make sure that if you are listening to music, only have one AirPod in or have the volume down, so you can then utilize all of your senses around you. You can hear when cars are coming, you can see when cars are coming. Next up is having a buddy. Having a buddy is really essential when it comes to walking to school, because if you're walking with someone, your senses aren't going to be fully blocked in comparison to when you're staring directly at your phone, or if you're blasting music, you're still going to be able to be aware of your surroundings and take any precautions. Lastly, is following traffic rules. Oftentimes, people jaywalk or walk across the street if the crosswalk is too far, but we just want to make sure we're avoiding that, because those things are in place for a reason, and they help prevent pedestrian safety accidents. Next slide. Okay, so next up, I'm just going to briefly talk about how to encourage your school to promote safe walking. Next slide. Okay, so here's how we can, as students, encourage our schools to promote safer walking. What you can do as a student is advocate for your school to host walk/bike to school days. I know not all cities are necessarily walkable. For example, I could never walk to Bowie because I live all the way on the other side of the town. But you guys can designate a specific meeting point, like a park or community center, or walkable distance from the school, and host a walk/bike to school day. Another thing would be doing morning and afternoon safety announcements on the announcements, on the intercom and stuff. Just, having whoever's announcing it, just do one tip at the beginning of the day and the end of the day to ensure that students are walking home safely from school. And also, if your school has a school news, you can have a segment on it talking about safe tips for walking to and from school. And lastly is making educational flyers and infographics to post around your school to educate your fellow students on safe ways to get to and from school. So that's all I had for you guys. Thank you so much for having me. I'm always going to be here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Roxy. Really good to hear that even from a student perspective, sharing safety information is important. All right, so what's ahead? there's only so many Duwans and so many Roxys out in the world. So what are we planning in Maryland for safe routes to schools? In the past year, the state of Maryland started a state agency working group to address safety traveling to and from schools. This is the Maryland Department of Transportation working with the Maryland State Department of Education, the Maryland Department of Health, and the Maryland Department of Planning. The vision is to increase safety and access for children following the Moore-Miller State Plan that we mentioned at the top of the hour. And our goal is to improve safety around schools by increasing the number of safe routes to school coordinators across Maryland jurisdictions, and to support all of the tactics that they might want to use for safe routes to schools. So what we're saying is we want more Duwans, and we want more tactics to be easy to find. He mentioned finding grant funding, but how can we make that easier? We've had a couple of questions as well about how to integrate safe routes to schools into land use planning. So from the state agency working group, each agency took on a different responsibility. At the Maryland Department of Transportation, we are piloting these coordinators and introducing a toolkit for them. The Department of Health has launched a walkability program for local health departments to lead walking audits around schools. The Maryland Department of Planning leads efforts for future land use planning and all schools that are being built and will consider safe routes to schools. And the Maryland State Department of Education has taken a look at their PE curriculum framework and has proposed a revision to allow bicycle and walking safety curriculum to be allowable in PE classes. To focus on the MDOT portion, since we are the Maryland Department of Transportation, we're excited that we'll be launching a cohort of probably 3 or 4 coordinators across the state in the coming year. And to make their job easier, we have drafted a toolkit that we'll release this fall that details their role and responsibility as a safe routes to school coordinator. What you see on the screen in this table are the 3 buckets of work that they can undertake as they're outlined in the toolkit, from working with individual schools to select the school, do a walking audit, finding a champion, and making a plan specific to that school and connecting them to local resources. They can also undertake community-wide engagement, which is a lot of what Duwan does with his community events and awareness campaigns, training community members, and creating student ambassador programs like what Roxy was a part of. And the last part is really just coordinating resources. Having one point person for schools and school safety can help all of the players get access to resources. So if you are a student parent, or if you are a student and want to do something, you know what groups you can be a part of. If you're a parent, you can get training for becoming a crossing guard or leading an event. And if you're a school, this coordinator can help connect you to safety grants or infrastructure grants. So again, expected fall of 2025. The toolkit is really crafted for our future coordinators, but we anticipate sharing all of the tools online so anyone else can also be involved. So with that, it is 12:51, and we want to make sure we get to some of your questions. I know we have a number of them in the Q&A box, so I'll invite Roxy and Duwan to come back on screen. And I know Francine has been looking at some of these questions. Some of them have been answered in real time, but let's see what we can go ahead and answer from the question and answer.
So what I'm looking at here is the question, which I believe you already answered, Meg, which is sharing of the Safe Routes to School toolkit when it's finalized. That's one of the questions that was asked.
We'll definitely share it on our website, and we're also sharing, honestly, a lot of resources from the Safe Routes to Schools National Partnership. So if you don't want to wait for ours, there's already a lot of tools out there. And then Duwan also, I think someone else from Montgomery County DOT was sharing some of your tools in response to the questions too. So there are a lot of things out there, and we can connect you to the right resources.
That's great. And then, of course, someone also asked where could they find this slide template? They love it.
I wonder if they're talking about yours, Roxy. You created your own slides.
Yes, but I use a template from Canva.
All right, so Canva online.
Slide templates. Canva is the place to go. You can just like search up your keywords and stuff, and it'll show, what lines up with those keywords.
Yes.
We also have a question on, does anyone have any ideas about how to successfully recruit and hire more crossing guards?
It's a great question. So crossing guards can be different county by county. They're sometimes managed within a Department of Transportation. So it's going to be something that you'll have to check on in your locale. Duwan, how do they function in Montgomery County?
In Montgomery County, they're housed in the police. So while Baltimore housed them in transportation, Montgomery County housed them in police. So I think every jurisdiction is different, but when it comes to recruiting crossing guards, from my experience, I've seen everything from hosting hiring events or partnering with local school districts to really promote the positions that you have available. So I'm not sure if you have authority or representation to recruit by yourself or you're partner with somebody, but I would say go with the local school district or local schools where that need is, and I think a success will come through there.
Yeah, I've seen it work when I was a Safe Routes to School coordinator. If there was a particular school that needed crossing guard, we would try to pull from the school community. And it was oftentimes people who live nearby. There's a church nearby because it's a part-time job, and anybody who really cares about their neighborhood and community might be willing to step up.
Great. And we had one response. It says they said that Anne Arundel County's crossing guards go through the police department and to try marketing to adults that participate in PTAs at local schools as a suggestion. Let's see. I'm having a bit of a problem. Let's see. Reading all the questions. Scrolling down.
Here's one I see. Do places that do walking school buses conduct or require background checks, waivers, or other legal things to avoid liability? I think it's always important that if you're leading a group, you do consider what training is available. If you're doing it on behalf of a school, they might require a background check. If it's organized by a PTA, it might be more informal, but there are trainings that you can go through, and if there's a Safe Routes to School coordinator in your area, they might be able to help you. An example of that is the League of American Bicyclists offers a training on bicycle safety, and once you are certified through them, you do have insurance coverage if the participants sign a waiver.
That's great. Now, we also just got a question about Maryland's speed safety cameras in school zones. Have they been able to measure their effectiveness?
I don't know of a study specific to school zones, but I think we can certainly look. It might be out there, and just I'm not aware of it. But generally, what we see with speed cameras is that the number of tickets issued over time always decreases, which actually is a measure of success. It means that there are fewer people speeding.
Appreciate that. And unfortunately, I cannot scroll past the first few questions.
Well, we have time, I think, just for one more. Do you have one you want to answer, Duwan?
Yeah, someone asks, can you share some best practices for state departments of transportation to support SRTS program at under-resourced school districts? One, I think resources is really a thing when it comes to safe routes to school, but it's not nothing that can stop you. I think one, you have to figure out what your state department has. Meg just showed the Transportation Alternative Program where they give funding for safe routes to school. So looking at seeing what free grants are out there so you can apply for those grants and get the funding. Also, moreover, you have to partner with local organizations and nonprofits that have the same mission and value that you have through Safe Routes to School that you can partner with. So, for example, Safe Kids Worldwide. Safe Kids Worldwide, while I was in Baltimore City, funding was a challenge, but we did some of the best work because we looked at who else have funding, who else have the resources that we can connect with, that we can drive our mission and complete our goals. So Safe Kids Worldwide is almost in every jurisdiction. I challenge you to look up who's your Safe Kids coordinator in your county and partner with them. They can also help you subsidize your funding when you're trying to get things done. Like I said, also you can partner with other agencies, police, fire, also WABA, Washington Area Bicycle Association. That's here in the DMV area. But if you're anywhere else, look for bicycle organizations, bike clubs, PTAs, and figure out ways that everybody can bring a piece. It's like a potluck, okay? We try to figure out a meal, but all you have is cornbread to offer. Well, I got steak. That's all I got. We need something to drink, so I'm going to bring the Kool-Aid. So figure out what you can offer, and everybody else brings something to the table, and we save lives and prevent more injuries just like that.
So true. Good analogy. All right, we will address some of these other questions probably in emails after the fact, but we are right at 1 o'clock. So we thank you all for joining and invite you to subscribe to get news about our future MDOT in motions. On your screen is also a QR code for a survey. You can input other topics you're interested in and what you thought about today's webinar. We will try to right-size the communications about future webinars, but in September, we're covering transportation trails. October becomes Walktober with weekly webinars. And in December, instead of a webinar, we'll be doing a year in review update and survey activity. So thank you all for joining.